You are clear to begin descent to surface.
Copy. Disengaging. Initiating auxiliary thrusters. Command, we are 20 seconds to atmosphere breach.
Say you want to play Outriders. I can tell you exactly what to expect right off the bat. You ever play Gears of War or any third-person cover shooter? Yeah, you played this game already, except that it tries its best to make cover an annoyance. Y'all remember Mass Effect? Yeah, this has some of those types of powers, but it really doesn't want you to use them that often until the end of the game. And by that I mean all the characters resist most of your moves a lot. Let's start from the top. The game looks decent enough. In lots of places, it has some really good visuals and original designs for monsters and landscapes. It clearly wears its inspirations on its sleeve. You like aliens? It's got the vehicles. You like predators? Yeah, you can look like one of them bad boys. Do you like Popeye? Look, he's alive and well and an ornery old man in this game. There are some character customization that reminds us of any third-person shooter. You get to choose some faces, hairstyles, skin tones, and piece up out that bad boy. Do they look particularly good? Nah, but it works since you'll be covered in sci-fi drip anyway. The story surrounds the gruff survivors of a destroyed Earth who traverse through space to reach a new planet that seems to be habitable, but quickly reveals its murderous environment. The main character is thought to be killed off and is sealed in a cryopod for at least 40 or so years, returning to this apocalyptic landscape with new abilities. Every single person is super murderous and edgy.
Lieutenant McCain, you alright?
I'm alive. Thank you, soldier.
It's okay. Now, let's get the rest of my men out.
Fuck, seriously?
If someone is seen as a good person, they are probably the most extravagant doo-doo butter known to man. Ultimately, it's about chasing this super powerful dude named Moloch around and trying to reach the other end of the planet or something like that. Just know that almost nothing good happens to the characters and the people they help, and you'll be fine. Sound design is good in some places and atrocious in others. You can hear the rumble of monsters crackling through the forest, some not so bad voice acting from most of the cast, and a lot of squishy noises from exploding bodies. Where the game fails at sound is mainly about bugs like endless sound loops or not hearing any gunshots at all in a lot of places. Oh, and the music is kind of forgettable. Okay, it's very forgettable to the point of not even remembering most of it. I ended up playing the Cyberpunk soundtrack over a lot of it near the end of my 80+ hours. Gameplay is as you would expect of a cover shooter. Get behind some cover and get to shooting. Except in Outriders, it consistently wants the player to not be in cover. It ushers us out of cover with various tactics such as rushing enemies, gigantic AoE attacks, super snipers, grenades, monsters that can attack through walls, and vulnerable bosses who force the player to constantly be swarmed by other mobs, flying enemies that shoot super grenades, and so much more. Let's just say it doesn't care about cover, and the most noticeable statement of that is how janky it is. Cover just sometimes acts like it doesn't want to be used, and it doesn't matter how many times the button is hit either. Most every unique power makes the player stand up and use their abilities, forcing them to be pelted in the face by laser-focused enemies at higher tiers. So what does that mean? Is it a run and gun shooter then? Not at all. I mean, not unless you play on some of the lower tiers. As soon as the player hits like World Tier 8, the enemies don't miss and hit for ridiculous amounts of damage, meaning the best way to survive is finding better gear, and then you'll repeat this process throughout each tier that you climb, and the enemies repeat the same function every single time. So that means that you have to either be a glass cannon or a slow killer with lots of regeneration every time you try to tier up, at least until you get good gear. This is where you point out that this game has cooperative play, and that it should make it easier. I come here to disappoint you, and I kinda like doing that. Unlike when playing the game solo, the enemies in cooperative play turn into super bullet sponges with the same laser focus and even more damage. Somehow they become at least 4 times more annoying to fight and drop the same amount of loot, or worse. Speaking of loot, this game is pretty bad for a looter shooter in terms of drops. Even in like World Tier 13, which is 2 tiers down from the max, the game felt like it needed to drop blues and greens for my character constantly. That means that purples was still rare when it's almost time to start making a specific build for my character for in-game choices. This game has a talent tree that's actually really restrictive too. You get like 20 points to try to make a good tree out of all of this. The game leans heavily on the use of mods and obviously wants us to bang our heads against the wall searching for specific gear pieces and sets. Unfortunately, the end game is less about build diversity and more about who has the fastest pew pew speed, which makes no sense in a game that has a tank and support class structure. Instead, everything is timed and you have to go fast or you won't get good loot. Ultimately, Outriders is one confused, janky-ass game. There are lots of weird bugs and outright confusing design issues. Instead of creating some kind of adaptable clamber or sliding system for scaling, it outright refuses to let the player jump down from small heights or even slide over most cover to escape a hail of gunfire. It also for some reason has the player disappear into black screens constantly and show a cutscene of a character opening doors, waiting for doors, or climbing a wall to load into a new area. And did I mention they currently have nerf skills while having a game-breaking bug that erases all of a character's equipment? Can the game be fun? Yes. Is it just another looter shooter that doesn't know what it should be doing? It sure is. But at least it's not games as a service, as of yet.